people, how are we today? Welcome back into the greenhouse. If we haven't met before, I am Sam. I'm your plant collector in Melbourne. It is springtime. There is so much growth happening in the greenhouse that I thought it is time for some propagation. So I've already been cutting up heaps of plants already. I've also had a lot of them growing in sphagnum moss or in water for quite some time. So I just thought, let's all just do it together. I'll show you all the plants that I've been propagating over the last couple of months. Some that I've just chopped up, I think I'm gonna say like a month ago, maybe a bit less, maybe like 3 weeks ago at the beginning of spring. But what better way to welcome spring than with some awesome propagations. So let's get started. I actually have a lot to do today. So I think that I'm going to start this video with showing all the things that I have been propagating this far. I will tell and show you my progression of how I like to propagate things. I have lots of soil, I have lots of sphagnum, I have a ton of my clear pots and all of the plants in between. So where shall we get started? So I've had a couple of things in a propagation box, like in one of the storage containers for ages. I'm going to say multiple months, but just to give you an indication, this Syngonium panda has been in a propagation box for ages, and these are the roots. So I'm going to be transitioning that one into soil. This guy has been struggling purely because it got a little bit too humid in the propagation storage container. So I'm going to put it in the greenhouse, less humidity. You can see there it's gotten a little bit of rot because it was too humid. So move this guy out here, chuck that one in soil. That one will be good. I've got another little Syngonium that I think needs a better pot. So I'm going to repot this one. I've got some goodies in here. I've got like this little cute pink splash. These ones I'm more excited about, and these are some Syngonium chia pens. I've got 3 of those happening in there. That's a new leaf. I like that. They don't actually look like your typical arrowheads, more oval, circular, and thick and matte. So cool. So I'd say those ones are the less exciting ones. Let me show you my propagation jar. Da-da-da! So those ones have been sitting in sphagnum moss in like a storage container. These guys are just sitting in this beautiful pot that a friend, Jake and Haley, gave me. I actually got this from Jake from a Christmas KK last year. It doesn't have a hole at the bottom, so I thought to myself, this is perfect for propagation. They all just sit in water, and I put them with Growth Tech CCS, and I'm really excited to be showing you guys what has happened in this jar in the last 3 weeks. I cut everything either like 2-3 weeks ago, and I'm really excited to see the progression and all the roots, because clearly I cannot see it with so many leaves and foliage. So we've got some Syngonium pandas. I have some Philodendron exinum. I'm not sure I never know how to pronounce this one. I've got some really gorgeous dark melanochrysums in here. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3. All you can see at the bottom. So gorgeous. I've got some Syngonium aurea, which is the yellow variegated Syngonium. You can see there, that is just one of the new leaves that popped out, and it is gorgeous. Surprisingly, this is also a Syngonium aurea, but that one looks more kind of white, but it's because it's an older leaf. I find with the Syngonium aureas that they turn really super vivid and yellow when they first come out, and then they kind of fade away. But anyway, super pretty. I got some Philodendron soderoys, some little itty baby cuttings. I'm not sure if you can see that little leaf there. That's a soderoy. I've got some Philodendron majestic underneath there. Another one just here. I've got a lot of these Epipremnum pinnatum variegata chopped up in there. The most exciting one is I've got 2 propagations of a Paradisa verde. Try and get it out. Just that leaf there, and this itty bitty baby leaf over here. So as you can see, there's a lot going on in there, and I'm really excited to see the progression and the roots going on and see if any of them can upgrade to sphagnum. So this video is also showing you some plants, but I'm also wanting to show those of you that aren't really sure about propagation. I've done a video on propagation before, which is more of like your basics. I shall provide a link and feel free to take a look at that one above. But essentially what I'm doing is showing you after I propagate and cut things, what the progression is or what steps I take to propagate. Number one, my absolutely favorite media is sphagnum moss for propagation. Now, a lot of people like to use perlite, water. I find that some species actually grow a lot faster roots in water. I've also figured out that with water, it's a lot more likely to cause rot. So I put it in water purely because it's in the greenhouse, it's always warm, and I don't necessarily have that much attachment. It sounds terrible. So water is for those plants that I am either really confident that they will root up. So things like syngoniums, I normally just chuck them into water. I'm not too fussed about them. Or if I've propagated a species in water before successfully, I do sometimes use water, but majority of the time I will use sphagnum. So it goes like this. I like to use water sometimes, not all the time. Then I upgrade it to sphagnum, and then once they have a really great established root system, then I chuck it into soil. And for a lot of the old school growers, that might seem quite redundant because a lot of them end up doing propagations like chopping and putting it straight to soil. But that personally has only ever worked for me when the plant itself, like a monstera, has an incredibly strong aerial root, and putting it in the soil straight away will work. I find that with a lot of my propagations, a lot of the time the nodes don't have active aerial roots, so I need to pretty much get them active, and it takes a lot longer. I personally don't do straight cuttings into soil straight away because success rate has never been that successful for me. I'm going to first repot all of the things that are in sphagnum. I know that this guy is totally ready for soil. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all that sphagnum. So I am just detangling and getting rid of all the sphagnum. The one thing about sphagnum, even though I find it super successful and easy to use, it's when I'm trying to untangle it, I'm like, but I can give you some tips. So if you ever find yourself wanting to pretty much remove the sphagnum from your roots and a plant, I highly suggest having it wet. So wetting the sphagnum, and it tends to like be less grabby and you can take it off the roots more easily. Say that massaging it is a really good, instead of just like picking at it, massaging the whole sphagnum ball with roots kind of loosens it a bit, and then it's a lot easier to dissect. So massage, 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 and to just be very gentle in general. So I have removed all of the sphagnum. That is the glorious root ball that we are working with, and I clearly figured out that this definitely needed to be changed into soil a very long time ago. I think that a good indication is like some secondary roots, like the finer ones. You're good, and that's the timing that you want to change it up into soil or a different media. But once it starts getting tertiary roots, then you've really stuffed up because they will all disappear when you are removing all of the sphagnum. I'm guessing this root ball was a lot bigger before I took it out of the sphagnum, but should be fine. It is a massive root system in comparison to how many leaves that it is currently carrying. So I've got a chunky arrowroot mix that is just next to me. I'm chucking it in a clear pot like so. And what I like to do is when I'm repotting stuff and I'm putting the roots, I like to put them against the surface of the pot so I can actually see how it's growing. I like to do a little bit of tap so everything kind of settles in the pot. So that is one beautiful Syngonium panda done, and as you can see, we have full access to some delicious roots to see how they're going. So I'm ready to do this pot. It's gonna take forever. I'm getting messy. So these have been rooting for months. I feel like these chia pens have really not struggled, but have been taken a really long time to do anything. Regardless, we've got a new growth point just there, which is awesome. Let's chuck this into soil. So these are just good, just falling off. Another one bites the dust. And we've got a new little baby shoot coming through there. Normally, I wouldn't be repotting a plant if it's got a new leaf on its way, just because you're stressing it out. It is what it is. Another little Syngonium pink splash. Also, I am a mess. Can you even see it? Next is going to be the more fun part. I'm going to be looking at all of the cuttings that I've been doing in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Alrighty, now let's take out this bad boy and take a look at some roots and the progression. I have a feeling that a lot of them are just going to be staying in water, but I just thought that it would be a good idea to kind of check them out and see what's going on. So this is the Paradiso Verde that I have here, and we can see that I chopped this about a week ago and we have an active root just there. So this one is doing something, so that is a great sign. And it doesn't look like it's declined in health either. It's still very perky. I'm quite happy with that. You're going back into water. This is so it looks like I'm going to be losing that leaf of this Soderoy, but that's okay because we have progression. If you can see this tiny little root. This is going to be staying in water. The leaf is probably going to disappear, but at least we have the node. This Paradiso Verde cutting with the 2 leaves, this was the tip active node. So we can see there a lot more progression than the other cutting. That's what tends to happen when you do cuttings with your plants. The tip cuttings are always going to be a higher success rate in comparison to the lower ones. But yeah, that one is doing something. You're going to be staying in water. Beautiful. We have this Epipremnum pinnatum doing its thing. I will probably be keeping that in water for a little bit longer. Some more of these guys, Epipremnums. And we've got some progression with a lot of them. And this one doesn't look like it's doing anything. Oh, it has a growth point that is super duper tiny, if you can see there. This Majestic looks like it's on its way out. It is doing nothing. And it's been sitting there for a while. I do have a growth point, or a growth, what do you even call that? Like circle-y thing happening in there. So who knows? I'll keep it in the water for now. Success! This Syngonium panda originally just had this leaf, and now it's already got a new leaf and awesome roots. So I'm going to be transferring that one into sphagnum. So some people may be asking why I go from water to sphagnum. I find that with watering, the roots come a lot faster than sphagnum, but when you're transitioning from water to soil, it sometimes shocks the plant because it's not wet enough. So I find that going from water to sphagnum to dirt is a lot better for the plant. There's just a lot less stress. I mean, this one has a new leaf coming, but it's only got 1 primary root. So I'll probably wait for this one before I put it into sphagnum. Yay! Oh my goodness, thank goodness, because this Majestic leaf I was so in love with, and I was getting a bit worried because it had already been a couple of weeks and nothing had really happened to this cutting, but we can see tiny little baby roots. It goes to show patience is a virtue. Ooh, this one. Ooh, that is amazing. That is so good. We've got some incredible roots just there. I'm wondering if that was a tip cutting. Yes, it was a tip cutting, and that would explain how amazingly successful this one is. So this one is going into sphagnum, another panda with a new leaf on its way. And I'm sure some of you are probably asking like what I do in terms of propagation. When it comes to water propagations, one, I always remove like the little sheaths that end up kind of rotting. I also like to replenish the water every couple of weeks. It doesn't have to be all the time. I like to use rainwater and CCS when I'm rooting stuff. This guy is looking really great. We've got a new growth point and some little tiny roots. Oh my goodness, these melanochrysums look fantastic. So we've got multiple primary roots. It's looking really awesome, and these melanos are so beautiful and dark. I just cannot wait for these ones to keep growing and getting bigger. So this is going to also be ready for sphagnum. They actually are all looking fantastic. They are all going to go into sphagnum. This one even has a new leaf popping out, and it's only been 3 weeks. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love it. Oh my goodness, it's got 2 growth points. So that new leaf there and a new leaf just coming up. Red heart in the middle. The only things that seem to not have been doing anything, I've got this tip cutting of the Soderoy, but we've got a new leaf on the way, which goes to show that it's still quite happy. It's just the roots haven't started just yet. Now, while there is no plants in this beautiful pot, I'm going to revitalize it. Fresh new water from the tank, so rainwater, as well as putting CCS into it again. Gotta shake well. So they're all in there. It's a lot less crowded than before, and I've got a lot of plants ready to go into sphagnum, which is super exciting. I'm going to put these babies into sphagnum. But that is pretty much it for today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out in the greenhouse with me, doing my planty chores, doing some propagations, more like transplanting all of the plants and looking at the progression of all of the props. And also it's just been really fun to show you what's coming up into the store soon. So all of these things I will be selling on the Plant Collector Melbourne store with enough time, just making sure that they are really established, awesome root systems, so that when you take them home or if you order them online, that they get to you safely and they're still really healthy. I'll be fertilizing them, I'll be adding CCS, maybe some root roids, and then hopefully they will be ready in due time. Thank you so much for hanging out in the greenhouse with me. Feel free to subscribe if you're enjoying all of this planty content, and I will see you guys in my next video. Mwah!